Welcome to our Father's Day edition of Let's Keep It Real podcast, Father's Day 2022. And I have with me
William Stewart, Ernest Barnes.
And we're going to be talking about some subjects here today. Just things, about fathers. And all three of us are fathers. And we're going to just talk about some issues that's been going on and how we would handle those as men, and as fathers. One of the things I would like to ask them about this subject, the first thing is, like, the hottest topic for this year has been, one of them has been the Will Smith and Chris Rock, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. And that's been a very hot topic, and everyone has their opinion as to how they would handle that. And what I wanted to ask is, how would you handle it from Will Smith's point of view? We all saw we saw the shots of it, and what happened. Chris Rock made the joke. It was a joke, and that's what comedians do,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the comedians used to come here to Fort Myers, and most people know that when you go to a comedy show, if you sit up front, then more likely they're gonna get you, and Chris Rock and Will Smith, they have history,
Right.
So I don't, now it's being said that he didn't know that she had alopecia and all that, and so I didn't think myself that the joke was derogatory or to hurt her. But what is your take on it?
Well, I think that it had more to do with pleasing the woman instead of him taking it as more of a, because he laughed at the situation, really, because he thought the joke was funny too.
And it was, yeah, it was.
But when she gave him that look, of course, and I was like, okay, I gotta get in the fence mode with my wife, gotta hear this when we get home, type of thing. So I more or less. Then again, you got speculation of people saying allegedly it could have been staged. So
Yeah.
who knows?
That's what I thought when I first saw
Right.
it. When I first told that, I was at work. Someone, did you see Will Smith slap Chris Rock? I'm like, and I saw it. I'm like, no, that's staged. That's a part
Right.
of the act.
Right.
But I remember this other movie where I can't think of the name of it, but where the lady, the kid they had the kid that was sick, and then the wife told her husband, do something. And he took the doctor's hostage and all that and made him operate on his son.
Right.
And it was kind of like she gave him that look, do something.
Mm-hmm.
And he went up there and he slapped him. But
Denzel Washington.
yeah, that movie. What's your take on it? How would you, as Will Smith, if that was your wife, someone did that, and she gave you that look, and as we see, he laughed about it until he got that look.
I think as a man, and feeling like my wife's been attacked, I think I gotta take action too, because at the end of the day, I'm a provider and a protector too. I think his man instincts and the role that he was playing, getting ready for it, I think he kind of got intertwined in that too. So of course, the woman got the best of me. And he understood, like, hey, when you get home, there's gonna be some situations. And did he take it too far? Yes, he took it too far. But at the end of the day, I think he was being the king of his castle.
Yeah, and the thing that really got me is after he slapped him, how he walked away, the same walk he had in the Wild Wild West. I don't know if y'all saw that. But that's the same way he walked off, and so that kind of threw me there, and that's what made me think it was staged. But now, as Chris Rock, let's say now you're not the man that doing the slapping, you're the man that getting slapped. As a man, how would you handle that?
I have not made it that far. I'm not. I'm not that humble. That was very humble of him to be able to take it and to keep moving like that. I haven't made it there yet.
That's exactly why people say it's a stage, because any other man in that situation would have reacted the way any other man would have, and that would have been to counter react what he did. You slap me, I'm gonna slap you back, kind of thing. So, Chris Rock, on the other hand, was trying to keep it professional, but ain't gonna keep it professional if somebody came and deliberately slap you over a joke.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I feel like everything happened according to, because they were all actors, so it ain't like they can't act in real life while you're watching them.
Yeah, we're gonna make this, you know.
Yeah, everybody gotta realize that too, that we dealing with all acting.
Improv 101.
Right, you know what I mean? But me personally, what I would have done, I would have waited to the end of the show, and I would pull them to the side, man to man, face to face. I'm like, hey, you got a problem? Because it seems like every time you get on the Oscars, you bring up my wife. Because if you did the research, he previously talked about her on another show.
Right, when they wasn't invited.
Right.
Yes, I saw that.
So now my question would have been is they paying you to say something, or is you doing this on your own?
So what's the problem? What's the problem with that? Because you got a problem with her, you got a problem with
Right, so I would have came at him,
Yeah.
he probably wanted to settle it right then and there in front of the whole world, but me, I would be like, you got to talk.
So if that wasn't, from my point, if it wasn't staged, let's just say it wasn't staged, I don't know if it was or not, but and it's kind of like because of there's no legal ramifications on Chris Rock part, I'm beginning to wonder if it was staged or not, but had that been me on Chris Rock end, I mean, the Smiths bank account would have been about $200 million short when I finished with them.
Right.
With me and my lawyers finished.
And
I would have been like $200 million short. You know, because
all the way to the bank.
all the way to the bank. You know, I ain't even got to do no more movies. I ain't got to stand up no more. You know.
Right.
And so that's one of the things. See, and that's the thing, because my thing on that also is how most people expected him to react as a black man. You know, and how, you know, most people think that it should have been a big fight. You know, the Oscars should have been shut down. You know, but I'm glad it didn't end that way, and I'm hoping that it is, you know, was staged or whatever. But that's just one of the things that happened, and that was such a big topic, you know, going, you know, in the past. And I was like, man, you know, how could something like that happen? But that was crazy.
Right.
You know, that was crazy. I just can't really see. And I'm, you know, a lot of parts they're not showing, but I like the idea that they said that Denzel stepped in and tried to calm the situation and talk, you know, and as I see where they say, you know, and he wasn't, Will Smith should have been walked out of there, you know, but then when you're dealing with that much money and him bringing what he brings to the box office and has brought to the box office, you know, and being in that I'll slap you mode, who want to mess with you? You know, because he's still a brother, you know. They talk about, you know, the Fresh Prince, you know, the Fresh Prince gone. Fresh Prince gone, you know. You talk about dad and a husband now, you know.
Right.
There ain't none of that. They got in there fighting, mom got scared, you know. But yeah, moving on, you know, life happens, you know, things happens in life. You know, everyone, especially now, we, you know, just not really coming out of the pandemic, but we're not where we were in the pandemic. And, you know, things just happen, you know, even from our last segment of, you know, our Father's Day segment of Let's Keep It Real podcast. But life happens, and, you know, and there's things that happen, you know, just in this past year, from last Father's Day to this Father's Day, that has happened, that changed. You know, and what is, I mean, just in that 1 year period between then and now, you know, us three, it was two more people with us, but it's us three. We were here last year and we're here back this year. What are some of the things, something that you could think of in life that just happened that just made you rethink life?
To rethink life, in general,
Yes.
like, I mean, I would say, because me, I'm always on the journey of studying and learning, so I research a lot. So I think all of this stuff is according to the Bible and prophesied to happen. And a lot of stuff is man-made, and they trying to fabricate it and put it in what was already predestined to happen anyway. So when you see that happening, then you got to be a person that's wise and not just listening to the news all the time, because you can get misinformation
Yes.
at the same time. So you got to know what's real and what's fake nowadays. So you'll rethink life and or what's going on. You have to take a minute and say, hold on now, something ain't right.
Yeah. But they only gonna tell you what they want you to hear.
Right?
If that.
So when you got to go outside of the box on your own, to do your own research and do your own study. Because if you take what they say for face value, then you will be misled, guaranteed.
Through the COVID pandemic, I've just been trying to make sure that I take care of the family. It's been so many question marks about all of this stuff, like what to do, what not to do, how to do, where to go, who to be around, how many people to be around. I take everything with a grain of salt, and I just take every day, one day at a time, and make sure that I'm the head of the household, doing what I need to do to push the family forward. A lot of this stuff is propaganda. A lot of this stuff is them testing everybody, you know? So I was just trying to do my best just to keep my family okay, to keep us moving, to keep us moving.
I know one of the things was I had 3 incidents. One was Christmas Day. I had been able to pull a gun on me,
Yeah.
you know, and he ended up going to jail. And about 2 weeks later, I was taking my granddaughter to school, and we got this guy right behind me with a gun pointed at the back of my head, you know, and so he ended up going to jail to him, and it was a white guy, you know, and I had my 4-year-old granddaughter in the car with me, and he road rage, you know, and then not even a month after that, I had another guy, white guy, threatened me with a machete. And the guy, he walks up, he's this close to me, walking up, he walked up to my truck. I'm in my truck, and I'm on the phone with 911. And he walks up to my truck with machetes, and he's yelling, you know. So I told him, you know, I'm gonna let my window up, you know, because, I could feel his breath on my face. I wasn't scared. You know, my only fear was what I was gonna have to do to him if he had tried something. But, you know, and sometimes, you know, the people just get, some people sound so angry or whatever, and they think that only what they're thinking is what's going to happen. You know, you may make a plan, you know, and I tell people, you know, well, if plan A don't work out, make plan B. You know, and I tell people, I'm like, listen, when you plan something, think of the worst thing that can happen.
Right.
Because that's probably what's going to happen. You know, and so, and this guy's standing here with this machete, and he don't know that because the thing was, it was late night, I had got some gas, and I'm getting ready to go home. So while I'm going by, he's backing out, and he's about to hit my truck. So I, you know, hit my horn, just doop, I didn't lay on it. And then this guy, he just started cutting loose, cussing me, you so-and-so, this, that, and all that stuff. And then he said, I'll shoot you. Oh, what? You know, so I let my window down, and he said it again. So I hopped on the phone, I called 911. You know, okay, you're gonna shoot me? You finna go to jail. You know, so I called the police, and I stopped and I'm waiting. You know, and I'm talking to the police, and he walked into the truck, and I see him do this, and I'm thinking, man, that's a big gun. You know, because I'm looking in my rearview mirror, and it just so happened to be a machete.
Right.
And he's walked up to my truck, and he's standing next to my truck. I never turned my truck off. But what he don't know that I did is I put my truck in reverse, and I turned my wheel all the way around. If he had broke my window or whatever, I was just gonna hit the gas and run over. You know, I hate to say that, but I was gonna run over, because I'm thinking about my life.
Right.
You know, because he's, you know, this guy, he's crazy, and he was drunk. You know, and like I say, that other one, the guy right behind me with the gun, he went to jail, he's good, and, you know, the jail part is over for him, so I'm gonna release that video at some point. I'm gonna put it on TikTok or Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff, you know, and it's crazy. And it's crazy how people are just so angry, you know, and a lot of it is, if you listen to a lot of people, everybody want to blame somebody else for their anger.
Right.
You know, whatever you're angry about, you know, that's what you're angry about. Is, you know, you can't, you know, blame the Republicans, you can't blame the Democrats, you can't blame the black, you can't blame the white. It's life. And things in life doesn't go right sometimes. You know, it don't go your way. You're not going to always have your way in life. Things are going to go, you know, contrary to how you want to go.
You know,
you don't just explode on people like that.
It seemed like the pandemic, like, really leveled the playing fields for everybody. Like, where you
And that's what's got them angry.
the middle class and upper class. It seemed like everybody now, it's either you rich or you poor now.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of feeling what it's like to be at the bottom, and everybody think they're angry. They're angry.
Yeah. And that's the same, you know, that stimulus, you know, we found it out now, it wasn't free money, huh?
There ain't no stimulus.
The gas price said that wasn't free. They getting it back, plus.
They got it back.
Got
All the
everything
thing
on,
gas,
yeah.
they got it back through income taxes.
Everything's
you're
going
aware
up
of
so
it.
high, and you know, and it's crazy.
Can't
You
you
know?
buy no chicken wings now. They like
Wow.
$40.
Yeah, and I don't, like you say, I don't understand, how is this a shortage on wings? Every chicken got 2 wings. If you got legs, then you should have wings.
Now, what I was concerned about was, since his father did, and I was talking to some fathers at work, they was concerned about milk and formula.
Yeah.
And they was scuffling around trying to find enough formula for their kids and their babies, and I was like, wow, he was like, it's serious.
Yes.
And they was really, really like afraid that they weren't gonna be able to find milk for their kids.
Yeah, and that's such a necessity that and it goes back, you know, like I said, I don't want to blame one party over the other, but our government as a whole. This is something that your country needs. How do you run out of that?
Right.
You know, you start looking for resources. You know, you don't go to shopping for groceries when everything in your house is gone. You go when it's low.
Right.
You know, and so how did you let this happen for babies? I'll see if you run out of collard green, neck bones, and all that for the grown folks. You know, we can survive on something else, but you got babies that have to have formula, and they can't have anything other than that formula. You know, how did you allow the country to run out of that? You know, and then you have to look to another country, you know, for what we should already have within our country.
Right.
You know, and it should be made available to everyone. You know, so how did we get there, you know, as a country? You know, and then again, it goes back to what you said, that when they leveled the playing ground, you know, and then you see, even like during the pandemic, you know, you saw people trying to buy up everything. You know, people going in there buying 20, 30 packets of toilet paper, you know, and for what? I mean, you're only going to need so much for so long. You know, if God should make it to where you're going to need all of that, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
You know, so, and that's the thing, people start to get selfish, they start to get angry, they start to get, you know, and all that starts coming into the playing field, you know, and then you got, you know, one party trying to blame another, and, you know, and it's that person's fault and that person's fault. But then, you know, why can't we as people come together and make something positive happen, and let's get past this?
I think the pandemic made everybody a little bit more selfish than they were, because you was forced to be selfish. You was forced to be by yourself. You was forced not to be around people or hang around people, or too many people in one occupying this space. Like, it's all about what I can have and what my family can get, what we don't need to run out of, or who we need to be around and not be around. It was a bunch of selfishness, because it broke apart churches, it broke apart families, broke apart a lot of stuff. People just got complacent, business, and then it got to a point where I don't even want to go nowhere. Like the vibe changed and it made you selfish. Like I speak for everyone because you ain't have no choice. That was what it was. You know what I'm saying? I think they got a lot to do with it. You know, and everybody's a victim of that because of being like, look how long we stayed inside. You know what I mean? Like you wasn't around the family or body of Christ like that.
It's like that government punishment.
You know? So
stay in the house.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah. And that's one of the things, you know, that but see, also, and by the same token, that should have brought families closer together.
It should have.
It should have brought, you know, because I remember coming up as a kid where, you know, you didn't go a whole bunch of places anyway. I mean, granted, the world has changed. You know, it's a lot different from, you know, that's why a lot of people, especially young people, tell people, you know, oh, this ain't 1920.
Right.
You know, this, and I get that. But we, as a kid, when I was coming up, you know, we pretty much, we all ate at the same time. You know, we all watched TV in the same room because there was only one TV.
One TV, right.
You know, so, and one TV, 3 channels. You know, so now they got a TV in every room, 50, 60, 100 channels to select from. You know, and you can, I remember when my kids was kids and they had TVs and the TV in the living room was on, the TV in each bedroom was on, and all of them was on the same channel. You know why? Why? Just go in one room, you know? And so, and that's the kind of thing. But then that separation, that's what it's about. It's about the separation and trying to separate families. You know, if the family can be divided, you know, the family can be conquered then. And one of the things that the enemy wants to conquer most of all is the father.
Right.
See, if you can get it, and the Bible even speaks of that, of binding the strong man. If you bind him first, you know, then everyone else would, you know, well, now you got some women now that just, they're so powerful and strong, and, you know, they've already bounded him, and, you know,
with the help of the government.
you know. That's true. That is true. I agree with you with that.
The help of the government.
And you know, this is Father's Day, and you know, and one thing I like to applaud, and you know, tip my hat to every father that's doing this thing.
Right.
You know, I appreciate that because I'm going to tell you, every child needs their father.
That's right.
You know, boy or girl, every child needs their father. Every boy needs his dad. Every girl needs. See, a boy needs a man in his face because I'm going to tell you something. Without the presence of a man, most males become teenagers. They'll bow up at their mama. You know, they'll bow up at their mama when they become a teenager.
Right.
They go to smelling themselves, they call it, you know, and they'll bow up at some point. But see, when there's a man there to tell him, I'll bust your head open, you know, he gonna try to keep it down, you know what I mean? And so every boy needs a man in his life to straighten him and you know, when he decides he want to take off, you know, come on, we can go in the backyard and we can handle it, you know. You think you're a man, come on, we can go in the backyard and handle that. Right. But then again, you got mama, oh, don't hurt my baby, don't hurt my baby. You know, and I ain't gonna hurt him. You know, I ain't gonna hurt him. As long as he let me win, I ain't gonna hurt him.
Yeah.
But if he started winning, I got to do what I can to survive. Don't make me go in this survival mode, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it becomes. You know, I love my son, you know, but I got to be in survival mode. You know, because I mean, what it's gonna be like if he wins?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's over.
The whole house changed. Everything changed. You know, I'm working for him now. You know? He gonna do everything. You know? Oh, you said go to bed? You know, no, that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna go into survival mode. Yeah, so, and that's the thing. And men, fathers are needed for the girls. You know, because we have to show them, if we don't show our daughters what love looked like from a male point, then someone else is going to come and their intention is not going to be what our intentions are for our daughters. You know, and so we have to be there for the daughters as well. So it's a balance, you know, because most mothers are there anyway, you know, and it's like men's for some reason, or should I say males, think they have a right at any point to walk away. You know, it's nothing. I'll just grab my little couple pair of pants and, 3 pair of shoes, and I'll walk away from everything. I'm going to lack so my children can have.
Right.
I'm going to do without, and I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, so my children can have. Not that the things that they don't need, but the bare necessities.
Right.
So, all the extra stuff is extra. And the extra is all right. But I'm not here to make sure you have the extra. I want to make sure you have everything you need. Whatever you need. Because I remember, when I was going to school, they didn't have 50 brands of tennis shoes. There was 2 brands. There were All Stars and Bobos. And I had Bobos. I had Bobos, and I think I was like high school before I ever had a pair of All Stars, and I bought them myself. You got a job and you bought them yourself. But see, now kids they got Nike, this, Air Force, whatever, LeBrons, they got Jordan, they got everything. If there's a superstar out there and he got shoes, they got shoes, and they're paying $200-300 for a pair of shoes. And it just, I don't know how my foot gonna feel in a pair of $200 shoes. I've never had a $200 pair of shoes, But we giving this stuff to our children, and when I was coming up, that was stuff that had to be earned, and now it's like, you tell the child to take the trash out and they act like you sentence them to life in prison. All you got to do is put your controller down for 5 minutes to take the trash out.
Right.
10 minutes to wash the dishes. It's not like it's a whole bunch. And they act like when you ask them to do something, you just, sentence them to life. But children are definitely different. When I was coming up, if your parent told you to do something, you like, oh man, you better duck, because something is coming at you. Yeah, no, something coming at you. Whatever they get, they're gonna throw it at you. So and kids stomping off and all that stuff. Oh no, God no, you didn't do that again. But that's a whole different generation, and a lot of that come from when people, because at one point in my life, early childhood, like if the neighbor saw you doing something wrong, the neighbor could beat you. But then it's got to where so many neighbors was misusing that authority, and because my thing is this: don't beat me for something you ain't gonna beat your child for.
Exactly.
And see, and that's what started happening. So a lot of people started saying, "Oh, when I get grown, ain't nobody beat my child." And as that grew throughout the generations, now guess what? Ain't nobody beat nobody's child. Child beat, it's rare to get a whooping. But see, that also comes because the child is not really punished and with corporal punishment or beatings, we call them as black people, not spankings. They got a new word now. Pow-pow. They get pow-pow. Yeah, they get pow-pow now.
No.
Yeah, they get pow-pow. Yeah. I don't know what that was. Pow-pow. If my dad told me I'm getting a pow-pow, that means he's going to shoot at me. So that's pow-pow. But I, for some reason, I come up with it. When you bring a child up, and a child has never been spanked, whooped, pow-pow, or whatever, so they're not used to it. Right. So when they get into school or wherever, and they get into a fight with someone that's not going to pamper them, and they get beat up, their pride is touched, and they get angry. And see, anyone, male, female, black, white, Hispanic, any race or whatever, when you hurt someone's pride, then that becomes a dangerous thing. So when you hurt their pride, then they resort to what? Violence. And they become what? Gun violence. Because they have never... I have, as a child, I've been beat up a lot of times. I don't know why I'm saying this, to the world, but I've been beat up a lot of times. But we fought and we got back friends, and we lived to fight again. Now if you beat up somebody, you got to watch your back forever. 10 years ago in middle school, you beat me up, and I'm gonna shoot up your car with your family in it. That's gone. So how do we get our children to understand that because you're angry, it doesn't resort to that type of violence? How do we get there?
You could get there, but it's gonna take a lot of work, because you're fighting against
A lot of other kids too.
a lot
Yeah.
of temptation,
Yeah.
TV, social media,
Video
phone
games.
video games.
And it's crazy now because now when something like that happens, like a fight or something, you don't see anybody trying to help or break it up. First thing they doing,
Pull out
Grab
the
their
phone.
phone.
everybody got to get it on video.
Pull out the phone.
And it's crazy because that's actually saying that it's okay.
Right.
So it's
Yeah, they want to glamorize it.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's definitely.
Yeah, and not only that, the part is, as I was saying, how do we get to where our children not want to be violent? Because even if you teach your children, they're not teaching their children.
Mhm.
And they're not, and so it's basically telling your child, let them beat you up. And ain't no child want to do that. You know, so we're in a tough spot as human beings, period.
The only way is what nobody really want to do. Separation. You got to separate your kids from public, and that's kind of a hard decision, because you might want to do it, but everybody else might not be ready to let go or whatever they got going on, in society. But it's basically, when I say separate yourself, you got to basically go back to what we started from. Like the beginning got to be the end. Like you got to basically go back to like teaching your child self-educate. You got to, homeschool. Go back to the roots of how we became what we are now. And so I think that's basically what you got to do. In a nutshell, you got to learn how to go back to growing your own food. You got to go back to doing everything that got us to where we at now. We too comfortable.
We're too much.
We're too comfortable. And that got us to where we at now, to where we don't care anymore. When we was poor and wasn't comfortable, that's when we was more family oriented. Everybody had to bring a dish and get together and eat and talk. And there was more love, I think, when it was more property. That, because when everybody started making money, and the white folks started giving out that money, everything about love each other, peace, harmony, and the family, that went out the window. Because everybody now is competing on how much I can get more than you. But when all of us was on the same level, all of us had on the same tore-up tennis shoes, all of us were eating out of the same pot, it wasn't no jealousy, it wasn't no envy, it wasn't no separation. It was more everybody, we all in the same predicament, so what we gonna do to get each other out of this?
Yeah.
That's what it really was.
And I understand what you're saying, because then I remember those days, and now it's like, oh, well, the family's gonna get together and we're gonna do this or we're gonna do that, and they're like, oh, well, is auntie or uncle so-and-so gonna be there? I ain't coming. If cousin so-and-so, I ain't coming.
That's
You know, and so that again, it's that separation. And it's and you hear people say a lot, oh, well, she more than a sister to me than my sister.
Right.
You know, he more a dad than my dad. And again, it goes back to what I was saying, the separation. You know, and so in that separation, how do we close that gap? Where do the man come in as a father and as a man and try to fill that gap? Because, see, one of the things is, because I see now, and it always has been, most men are so full of pride. We're so full of pride that, we don't want, okay, your child got Jordan and they cost $200, I'm gonna buy my children a $300 Jordan. Your kids, got this, I'm gonna do this. And that's the thing, and like you said, the competition. Why are family members should compete against family members? A race of people shouldn't have to compete against one when we are supporting other people, and it doesn't matter, what color or whatever, but when we're supporting other people, why can't we support our own family when our families are trying to do, have some type of business?
Right.
And the thing is, we as a people, and it's sad, because we'll call some company up, and whatever their price is, that's what the price is. But then when we know someone that can do, like he's an electrician, okay, I call it an electrical company, and they tell me, oh, well, that's gonna cost you $8,000. And then I say, well, that, you know, that's too much, and I find, oh, well, talk to Will, he's an electrician. I call Will, oh, and he come over, he said, well, I can do it for $6,000. Oh, can you do it for a little bit more or less? You know, $6,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you know them people just quoted you 8. Now I just said 6. And now you want me to knock that price down. And then you want to crumble me the money when it's time to pay. You know, you want to send me a little bit here and a little bit there, you know what I mean? Now I got to chase you for this. You got to threaten to come in and cut your power off and like I'm FPL or somebody. You know, and why do we do this to our own people? You know, and that's the thing. And we're teaching our children to do this to our own people, to do it to each other. You know, and that's some of the things I think we as a people got to get past. We got to learn to go back into the root because, you know, they're, you know, oh, well, that's the old folk way of doing it. That's the way they used to. We don't do it like that no more. Well, there's a lot of things we don't do like we used to do no more. And that's why a lot of times we're in the position that we're in. You know, and I mean, the money's out there. Everybody can make money. You know, so why can't we support each other? You know, I won't, you know, you got this person, you know, starting up a product or whatever, and it's the same product that I'll go to Walmart and buy.
Right.
You know, why not support this person? Walmart got billions already. You know, but then I'll go and pay twice as much, you know, at Target, but, you know, than what they're selling it for, and we'll do that. And it seems kind of crazy. You know, we won't support each other, but we'll go and support someone else. You look at the corner stores in almost every neighborhood. Look at the corner stores in the hoods, in almost every neighborhood. They're owned by Arabs, Indians, and this, that, and the other. And in this neighborhood particularly, in the Dunbar community, we have all those, you know, you got the Arabs and all the people that own the stores. Now, every year, it's been probably 50, I know over 50 years, 60 years or so, there's an Easter parade. How many of them people you see in the parade?
Never.
How many of them people now? Everybody's going to their store, spending their money, keeping them in business, spending big money. And there's how many of them even just put a float? The Easter parade, you don't even have to give anything away. You can just put a float in there and ride through by the people. How many of them even take the time to do that? The same people that the black people that own stores and have been owning them forever in this community, and this community is not the only one. I'm sure when I'm saying this, I'm speaking for almost every community, every hood community in the country. Now you got the black people that's been struggling and doing it and all that, but then when we go in there, we want them to, you know, hey, I know the bill 69 cents, I got 60 cents, I get with you. But you go in the Arab store, if you're a number short, you got to put it back. But you keep going there. And you want to go to him when you're short. But then when you get your check or whatever it is, you want to run down to the Arab store.
Right.
You know, how is that, you know, as a people, where are we as a people in doing that? And how do we come back from that? How do we come back to where we become prideful? You know, and we lift each other up, you know, and say, you know, bro, you doing your thing, you know, I salute you, you know, because it's like now, it's hard to even look at each other without somebody wanting to frown up and what you looking at me for, what's your, you know, and it shouldn't be that way. You know, if we see every man as a man, regardless of what he's doing, you know, see every man as a man, and then talk to him as a man, then we should be able to get through to him as a man and listen to somebody, because, you know, sometimes we don't want to hear another man. You know, you know, I don't understand that, you know, as men, we want to think that we got it all together, and sometimes we just don't. And it's just hard to say, I don't have it together. Right. You know, I need this, I need that, I need, you know, and sometimes I understand that as a man, but we have to, because we got to pass this stuff on to our children. And our children is going to be looking, you know, because one of the things, we know how our children are going to act in our presence. The most important part is how they're going to act outside of our presence. You know, and that's where, you know, we got to grab this thing. And this is where we have to grab, and come back and try to get our children to turn them around to where, not making them soft, not making them, but to get them to where, they become respected, they respect themselves first. Because if you don't respect yourself, you ain't gonna respect nobody.
At all.
I don't care who it is. If you cuss around your mama, you'll cuss around the president. And so that's the way it is. And that's one of the things that, and you have males, because I don't want to call them men, you have males that think that's funny to teach their children that, you know what I mean? And it's not, because it's really hurting them. Because when they go out into society and get to the age where they have to start looking for a job or start communicating with people, and do those type of things, how do you tell your son, well, son, listen, when you talk to a man, you look at that man in the face. You look him in his eyes and talk to him. I don't care who he is. And that's one of the things my dad always taught me, because I came up in a total different era from you guys, And one of the things, when I came up, I come up right behind the era of where a black man didn't look a white person in the face, in the eyes. When they talk to you, you held your head down. So my dad taught me, when you talk to any man, you look him in his eyes. And so, but that starting to get to where, the kids will, you see it now, the generation where we'll kill each other, but, our kids will go to this house and invade this house with a gun, and they'll do that with a gun. But then when the police show up and they got guns too, now you want to run. Hold on, now it's an even battle. You got guns, they got guns, shoot it out. So, but we have to get our kids from that point and get them to the point to where they become respectable people, to where because my grandchildren are going to be the generation, that age group, is going to be the generation that when y'all get my age, is going to be running this country.
Understood.
And where we at now as a people, not black, white, whatever, but people, a human being, where we at now, this world is in trouble. Because, you think, if the way it happened, you beat me up, you do this, I'm going to go get my gun. Now, what happened when those guns turned to nuclear arms? Oh, you did that? Okay. I'm going to shoot a nuclear weapon at you. I'm going to, and all this kind of stuff. So as a father, we have to teach our children and we have to put boundaries. Anybody, adult or child, without boundaries is headed for trouble. And they're headed for trouble. And we see that today with so many mass shootings and all these things. And one other thing on top of it we can cover is, up in Texas, the Valdez, Texas mass shooting at that school. That is not the first mass shooting in this country in schools. We've had them before. Then we had the other one up in New York in the grocery store. And there's others that happen, and we have to send our children. How do you guys, because my children are grown, so they're not out of school, but they can still get caught up in a mass shooting because it'll happen at Walmart, it'll happen at, anywhere. But how do you, as a father, when you hear something like that go on, I know how I feel, even though my children are grown, because I have grandchildren. How do you feel when you hear about the mass shooting and at the schools and around the country, and the thoughts of having to send your child to a school knowing that, anytime something like that can happen, and keeping them home is not necessarily protecting them from it, because it can happen at home. I understand that. But how, as a father, sending your children to school, thank God it's summertime, school is out, maybe that's a cooling period, but then school's going to start back up. The fights from the summer goes into the school. All the and the thing about it nowadays, the fights aren't even physical. The fights they're on the internet. They argue. How you argue on the internet?
Virtual.
You having a virtual fight. You texting a fight. I punch in the mouth. I punch in the head. and y'all fighting in the text. But then that runs over into the school. That runs over, and even in the text, even on social media, you got people egging it on. You know, so how do we, you know, as fathers, as parents, you know, even a mother, how do we grab hold to that? You know, what do you teach your children in that?
Just hearing the news of the kids, you know, that just broke my heart. You know, neither one of those kids had any ill will or any way to protect themselves. So it really hurt that somebody just went up in there with the intent on hurting the kids like that. So we've been bouncing around security in schools, armed security in schools, but like even sitting here thinking about it, like how do you prepare your 5, 6, 7-year-old for a situation like that? Like how do you get them to wrap their head around that a gun situation that somebody would actually be thinking about doing something wrong to them? I can hardly get my daughter to just talk straight instead of bouncing around, just trying to be serious about a situation like that.
Right.
I don't think they can even wrap their head around it. The first line of defense is going to have to be the schools that we're picking, and getting the security and different types of ways of dealing with the situation. To my understanding, the police were outside of this school and they didn't go inside because it was an active shooter and they were told to hold off. I couldn't do that as a parent. I couldn't do that as an officer. I couldn't do that as anything, knowing that these kids are in there being shot like fish in a barrel. So again, we got to push on either gun safety and or security at these schools. Because trying to get the understanding of a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, 6-year-old of the situation, they still probably didn't understand. It's going to be a problem that we definitely got to deal with.
Yeah, that's, I mean, had I been an officer, that'd have been the day I would have lost my job. They said,
Yes.
hold on, because if I'm not holding on, I'm going in, you know, I'm going all in. And I did, I heard that, and there's a big thing about, you know, them not going in after so long. But, and even, that's another story in itself. As an officer of the law, you are to preserve and to protect. That was the most, those were the most vulnerable people on earth.
Yeah.
Children.
Yes.
And you hold off.
Babies.
But had that been a club, everybody been running in. You know what I mean? So how do you, I can't even begin to understand their thought process or whoever commanded them to hold off. No, you know, and that's what I'm saying. That's where we at. That's where our government at. You know, and then, you know, to see the faces when I was at the store one day and I picked up a magazine and they had all the children in there. You know, and it just broke my heart. You know, because I mean, you had almost a world in those 21 babies of people, you know, senators, governors, you know, whatever they were going to grow up to be, doctors, lawyers, whatever. You know, whatever they was going to grow up to be, all that is gone. And just to think of how much influence one person can have on many in the world, you know, whether it's negative or positive, the influence that one person can have on the world. Imagine how much influence had died just that day in that school because the police was told to hold up.
It's sad.
There needs to be some accountability for that. There really should be some accountability for that, you know, and it shouldn't go with just a firing, you know, because that is, I can't imagine it. You know, that's you know, if that's like.
But how do they even let that happen? Like, you gotta understand, like, it's hard for kids to even leave off the campus of the school ground, let alone somebody coming inside of the school. Mom, you drive buses. You know how hard it is for certain individuals. It depends on the grade.
Well,
but
and not only that, we're talking
elementary
school. But the thing is, also, she drive buses, and we're here in Florida. We don't know what Texas rules are for people entering the schools. You know, because Florida and in this area has strict rules.
Well, Texas is open carrying Texas.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Always been a cowboy state.
And that was the guy that saved him too, a border patrol dude.
Yeah.
He went in this car, got his gun, and ran in.
Yeah.
Because you're going to open carry in Texas. And that's basically it. So we looking at, now we're looking at something that can possibly come to Florida.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like if it's happening, it was just like the marijuana thing. It's just like it starts one way and then it goes and it spread. So if the gun laws is changing and it's doing it state by state by state, eventually it's going to be like that everywhere.
I don't think we can really rectify any of this with gun laws, because just think about it. Chicago has some restricted gun laws in the United States, and there's hundreds of black men dying that day. New York, the same way. So the stricter the gun violence, the stricter the gun laws, the more access that other people gonna get to illegal guns.
And the only thing that do, I think the stricter gun laws, the only thing they do is make the price of illegal guns go up.
That's it.
You know, the price of illegal guns just go up and get higher. I don't think it's gonna really do anything. It's just like putting locks on the doors. Locks, you know, it's not for the thieves, it's for the honest people. It just slows thieves down. You know, it's not going to do anything. But anything y'all like to put in before we close this segment? Any Father's Day wishes or anything?
Father's Day we're here, man. This year too. Hoping to see us right back in next year. You know, probably with a bigger smile. But I actually enjoy this every year. We can keep this going and see how many of these things we can actually record and come back on and just spin them one time. Maybe when our kids get a little older, they'll be able to see these here.
Right.
Actually, I'm thinking we should get together and do more segments on other things also. I just thought this that.
That-
Because there's many topics that can be covered. You know, many things, you know, people need to hear it, want to hear it, and, you know, so if we can stay in touch and let's do other segments of other things and other topics, because there's so much stuff, you know, going on that, you know, there's always something to talk about. You know, so let's
With me,
do that.
what I want to say from the ending, on my behalf, I would say, as a father, a young father, nowadays you have to just worry about, you know, starting in your own house first, because it's hard to try to change the world. It's impossible, really, as one man trying to do it. But as far as what you can do as a male in your own home, as a father in your own home, is start trying to teach them the things that we're talking about now, instill it in them now, and hopefully whatever that you taught them, it'll stay with them for the long run in the future. Because it's going to be a lot of things out there. Because I was taught from day one, I came out in the church. But that didn't stop me from knowing the streets either.
Oh, yeah.
But what my mom and my dad and the pastor and everybody taught me was still there as well. So it wasn't like it didn't work what they did. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad I heard and seen what I saw. You know what I'm saying? It gave me another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it ain't like it's going to waste what we telling our children. You know what I'm saying? So we just put in the effort. That's what I want to say. You know, just try to make it.
That's what I was going to say when you were saying about keeping the kids in. the isolation part, but just like you're saying, what you're saying is a Bible scripture, you know, train the child up in the way it should go, and when you're old, you won't depart from it.
Right.
And although they'll run around and do all these different things, because, see, as parents, we have a tendency, especially when we have a child that gets in trouble, you know, sometimes we'll start worrying and this, that, but then that child is sitting there thinking, you know what, Dad told me this, you know, that Mama told me that, and they just sat down for a minute, and that give them a chance to think.
Right.
You know, so, and that's it. Train the child up in the way it should go. When he's old, he won't depart from it. Meaning, even if he run around and do all what they're going to do, he could be, if he stop and think of what he was brought up on, he'll come back in.
Come back and they're good.
Yes, sir.
With you?
I don't know, I'm good. I want to make sure we back here again next year.
Okay, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I thank everyone that's going to see this, and hope everyone that sees this gets some positive input from it, and get a positive understanding of what we're trying to do. And as I said, I want to kick this off. Let's Keep It Real podcast, and I want to cover many other subjects and many other programs we're going to be having throughout the years to come.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
God bless.